There is a kind of tired that sleep cannot fix. It is a bone-deep exhaustion, a quiet hum of depletion that lingers long after you've closed your eyes. It is the invisible tax on your soul for a day spent being agreeable, for being helpful, for being the nice one. You tell yourself it's stress, or that you need more coffee, or that you're just not as strong as you used to be. But what if that fatigue is not a weakness to be fixed? What if it is a message to be heard? A sacred signal from a part of you that has been silenced for far too long. The great psychologist Carl Jung understood this. He knew that the most exhausting work a human being can do is not physical labor, but the constant draining effort of repressing their own truth. The energy it takes to hold your own needs underwater. The power required to swallow your honest no. The life force burned to keep your authentic self hidden away. This is the work of your shadow. And the exhaustion you feel is not a sign that you are broken. It is the first gentle whisper from that shadow telling you that the performance is over. It is a call to come home. Today, we will not learn to fight our fatigue. We will learn to listen to it. To do that, I invite you to take one gentle, conscious breath, and in the comments below, simply affirm your readiness. Write, "I am ready to listen." To understand this deep, soul-level exhaustion, we must first understand the economy of the psyche. Your soul has a budget, a finite amount of life force energy. Carl Jung referred to this energy as libido, not just in the sexual sense, but as the fundamental will to live, to create, to connect, to be. Every single thing you do requires an expenditure of this energy. Working, parenting, thinking, these are the obvious withdrawals. But there are hidden expenses. And the single greatest hidden expense for the nice person is the cost of maintaining the persona. Your persona, the mask of the agreeable, helpful, easygoing person, is not who you are. It is a job. A full-time, 24/7, high-stress management position. And what is the job description? First, you are a hyper-vigilant security guard. You are constantly scanning your environment, not for physical threats, but for threats of disapproval, conflict, or someone being unhappy with you. This constant surveillance burns an incredible amount of psychic fuel. Second, you are a master diplomat. You are constantly choosing your words carefully, softening your opinions, and managing the emotional temperature of every room to keep the peace. This is exhausting work. Third, and most costly, you are a prison warden, and the prison you are guarding is your own shadow. Every time you feel a flicker of anger and you must swallow it down, that costs you. Every time you have a need, a desire, and you must deny it, that costs you. Every time you want to scream no, but you force a smile and say yes, that costs you dearly. The act of suppression, of holding back your authentic self, is like holding a beach ball underwater. It looks calm on the surface, but it requires a constant, muscular, relentless effort. The moment you lose focus, the ball shoots to the surface with explosive force. This is why after a long day of being nice, you might suddenly snap at your partner over something trivial. The beach ball just broke free. The energy required to keep that ball submerged is being drained directly from your life force account. Let's imagine a woman, We'll call her Chloe. Chloe is the person everyone calls a rock. She's so dependable. She organizes the community events. She takes on extra projects at work. She's the one who always remembers birthdays. Her persona is one of selfless capability. But Chloe is so tired she can barely get out of bed in the morning. She feels a constant low-grade ache in her back, a fog in her brain that coffee can no longer cut through. She thinks, I must be getting old, or maybe I have a vitamin deficiency. But let's look at the hidden energy costs of her day. She wakes up, and her first thought is not for herself, but for her family's needs. That's a withdrawal. At work, a colleague asks for help on a project, and even though she is already overwhelmed, Chloe says, of course. She doesn't want to be seen as unhelpful. That's a large withdrawal. During a meeting, she has a brilliant idea, but she stays silent. She doesn't want to seem too aggressive or challenge her boss. The energy it takes to swallow her own brilliance is a massive withdrawal. Her mother calls to complain for 30 minutes. Chloe listens patiently, playing the role of the good daughter even though she is screaming inside for just 5 minutes of silence. Another withdrawal. By the end of the day, her psychic bank account is not just empty, it is overdrawn. The profound exhaustion she feels is the biological and spiritual consequence of this massive energy deficit. It is her body and soul telling her in the only way they can. This way of living is unsustainable. This is the heart of the matter. This is why sleep doesn't fix it. You can sleep for 10 hours, but you wake up and immediately start the same energy-draining job of managing your persona and suppressing your shadow. You are pouring a cup of water into a bucket riddled with holes. The problem is not the amount of rest you are getting. The problem is the constant, hidden psychic energy leak. The door to your power has been locked, and the key is being used to keep your own truth contained. Your exhaustion is not a sign that you are broken. It is a perfectly functioning alarm system. It is the most honest messenger you have. It is telling you that the cost of your kindness has become too high. It is telling you that the parts of you locked away in the shadow, your anger, your needs, your boundaries, your authentic no, are not just being ignored. They are actively draining your life force to stay suppressed. This is a radical reframe of your fatigue. It is not a weakness to be pushed through. It is a sacred communication to be listened to. It is your shadow in its own way, trying to save you. It is creating a state of exhaustion so profound that you have no choice but to stop. To stop performing. To stop pleasing. To stop holding the beach ball underwater. It is forcing you into a crisis, because in that crisis, there is an opportunity. The opportunity to finally ask a new question. Not, how can I get more energy to keep being this person? But, who is this person I am spending all my energy to be? And, is it worth the price? This question is the beginning of the journey home.
So, if our exhaustion is a message, what exactly is it trying to tell us? The shadow does not speak in clear sentences. It does not send emails or leave voicemails. It speaks in the language of symptoms. And exhaustion is one of its loudest cries. When you feel that deep, soul-level fatigue, it is often a composite message, a symphony of several urgent needs that have been ignored for far too long. Let's learn to listen to the individual notes in this symphony. The first note is the sound of unexpressed anger and resentment. For the people-pleaser, anger is a forbidden emotion. We learn from a very young age that our anger is dangerous, It is unacceptable. It makes people leave. So we learn to swallow it, to deny it, to pretend it doesn't exist. But that anger is pure psychic energy. And the effort required to suppress that energy is monumental. Imagine trying to hold a powerful steel spring compressed with your bare hands all day long. That is what you are doing with your anger. Your exhaustion is the fatigue in your psychic muscles from this constant internal pressure. It is the price of keeping your own power contained. The shadow is whispering, I cannot hold this in anymore. This is not right. A boundary has been crossed. Please use this energy to protect us instead of using it to silence me. Your fatigue is a plea from your own suppressed power. The second note in this symphony of exhaustion is the sound of unmet emotional and spiritual needs. We are not just physical beings who need food and water. We have a soul that requires nourishment. This nourishment comes from things like creativity and play and solitude and meaningful connection. It comes from beauty, from music, from time in nature. These are not luxuries. They are essential nutrients for the soul. But when you are spending 100% of your energy maintaining your persona and serving the needs of others, there is nothing left over to feed your own soul. Your psychic bank account is so overdrawn, you can't afford the very things that would replenish you. You're too tired to paint, too drained to go for a walk in the woods, too depleted to connect with a friend in a meaningful way. So, the exhaustion you feel is also a form of spiritual malnutrition. It is your shadow crying out, we are starving. We are disconnected from our own life force. Please, we need to be filled up from the inside, not just drained from the outside. It is the hollow ache of a soul that has not been fed. And the third, perhaps deepest note, is the sound of a profound misalignment with your authentic self. Your true self, the self with a capital S as Carl Jung called it, knows your purpose. It knows what makes you feel alive. It knows your true north. When you live a life that is primarily about pleasing others, about meeting their expectations, about following their script for you, you are living in profound opposition to this inner truth. You are walking in the wrong direction. The exhaustion is a form of internal friction. It is the spiritual drag on your soul from moving against your own current. It is your shadow screaming in a voice made hoarse from neglect, this is not our path. The life we are living is not our own. This performance is killing us. Let's go back to Chloe. She hears this, and it resonates deeply. She realizes her exhaustion isn't just about her busy schedule. Her fatigue is the weight of the anger she feels towards her boss, but never shows. It's the spiritual hunger for 1 hour to herself, just to read a book, a need she always dismisses as selfish. It's the deep, aching friction of knowing she should be a writer, but continuing in a job that slowly drains the life from her because it's what her parents expected. Her exhaustion is not a single problem. It is the sound of her own soul crying out from 3 different directions at once. So the question becomes, how do we begin this shadow work? How do we translate the symptom of fatigue back into the language of needs? Here are 3 gentle practices to begin this dialogue. They are simple, but not easy. They require a conscious choice to turn your attention inward. The first practice is what I call the sigh of surrender. We've mentioned the somatic sigh as a tool. Here, we use it with a specific intention. The next time you feel that wave of exhaustion wash over you, I invite you to stop what you are doing for just 1 moment. Close your eyes. Take that double inhale through the nose, and on the long, slow exhale through your mouth, I want you to silently say to yourself, I surrender. I will stop fighting you. I am ready to listen. This is not a surrender of defeat. It is a surrender of resistance. You are signaling to your body, to your shadow, that you are no longer treating the exhaustion as an enemy to be conquered, but as a messenger to be welcomed. This small shift in intention can change everything. It lays down the weapons in the inner war. The second practice is journaling to the fatigue. This is a dialogue exercise. Take your journal, and at the top of the page write, "A letter to my fatigue." And then you ask it questions, and you let the answers flow without judgment. You might ask, "What are you trying to protect me from?" And the fatigue might answer, "I am protecting you from taking on one more thing that will break you." You might ask, "What is the one thing you desperately need me to do?" And the fatigue might answer, "I need you to cancel something. Anything, just to prove that you can." Or, "I need you to sit in silence for 10 minutes with no phone and no agenda." You are not just writing, you are receiving intelligence. You are using your fatigue as an oracle. It holds the wisdom your conscious mind has been too busy to hear. This leads us to the third and perhaps deepest practice: guilt-free rest. For the people-pleaser, rest is often laced with guilt. We feel we haven't earned it. We feel we should be doing something productive. Guilt-free rest is a conscious, political act of defiance against the inner critic that says your worth is in your productivity. I invite you to schedule it. Put 15 minutes in your calendar. Title it Sacred Do Nothing Time. And for those 15 minutes, you do precisely that. Nothing. You don't scroll on your phone. You don't tidy up. You sit or you lie down. You look out a window. And when the guilt and the restlessness arise, and they will, you simply notice them. You say, "I see you, guilt. I see you, restlessness. Thank you for sharing. But for these 15 minutes, I am choosing to rest." You are not resting to get more energy to go back to people-pleasing more efficiently. You are resting as a declaration that you are worthy of rest simply because you exist. This practice, more than any other, begins to plug the energy leak. It is the ultimate act of listening, the beginning of coming home to your body and honoring its profound and life-saving wisdom.
These practices, the sigh of surrender, the dialogue with your fatigue, the conscious act of guilt-free rest, they may seem small, almost too simple to make a difference, but they are the beginning of a revolution in your inner world. Each time you choose to listen to your exhaustion instead of fighting it, you are performing a radical act of shadow work. You are acknowledging that there is more to you than just your light, pleasing, capable persona. You are admitting that there is a shadow and that this shadow has wisdom for you. For many of us, the idea of shadow work can seem intimidating. It sounds like a dark, scary journey into the worst parts of ourselves, a descent into a basement filled with monsters. But as we are seeing here, it often begins much more quietly. It begins by honoring the simple, profound truth of your own body. It begins by asking, "Why am I so tired?" and having the courage to listen to the real answer. The real answer is almost always that there is a part of you, a shadow part, that is being denied, and the energy of your life is being consumed to keep it denied. Let's return to our friend Chloe one last time. She starts to practice these small things. When she feels the exhaustion hit in the middle of the afternoon, instead of pushing through with another cup of coffee, she goes to her car for 5 minutes. She closes her eyes. She does the sigh of surrender. She just sits. She does not fix anything. She simply acknowledges. One evening, she takes out her journal. She asks her fatigue what it needs. The answer that comes back surprises her. It's a single word: music. She realizes she hasn't listened to the music she loves just for herself in years. So she puts on her headphones and listens to one album. For 20 minutes, she's not a mother, not an employee, not a rock for everyone else. She's just a woman, feeling alive. This is not a selfish act. This is an act of filling her own well. It is an act of spiritual nourishment. The following week at a work meeting, someone suggests a new complicated project. The old Chloe would have immediately volunteered, her fawn response kicking in to be the helpful, capable one. Her body would tense, her heart would sink, but she would say yes. But the new Chloe, the one who has started to listen to her exhaustion, she pauses. She feels the familiar pull, the old programming. But she also feels the memory of the music, the memory of the quiet in her car. She has had a small taste of what it feels like to be full, to be home in her own skin. And she realizes that taking on this new task would drain that feeling away completely. So she stays quiet. She lets someone else volunteer. She feels a pang of guilt, but it is quieter now. It is overshadowed by a new, emerging feeling. The feeling of self-loyalty. The feeling of peace. What Chloe's doing here is a form of integration. This is what Carl Jung meant by making the unconscious conscious. She is listening to her shadow's message, the exhaustion. She is honoring the need it points to, the need for soul nourishment, for rest, for boundaries. And this act of honoring her inner world is what gives her the strength to make a different choice in the outer world. She is no longer running on empty. She has begun to plug the leak. The energy that was being used to suppress her own needs, her own voice, her own music, is now becoming available for her to use consciously, to protect her peace, to fuel her joy, to build a life that is actually her own. This is the great, beautiful paradox of shadow work that Carl Jung taught us. We think that by acknowledging our dark or weak parts, our anger, our sadness, our exhaustion, we will become less effective, less good. But the opposite is true. By turning towards the shadow, by integrating its wisdom and its energy, we become more whole, more resilient, more authentic, and ultimately, more truly and sustainably generous. A kindness that flows from a full well is a gift. A kindness that is squeezed from a depleted soul resentful is a transaction. And your exhaustion is the bill for that transaction. It is the price you have been paying. Listening to it is the first step toward renegotiating the terms of your own life. It is the beginning of a new contract with yourself, a sacred contract that says, my well-being matters. My energy is a precious, finite resource. My needs are valid. My rest is sacred. My no is as holy as my yes. This is not a journey you can complete in a day or a week. It is the work of a lifetime. It is a slow, patient, and compassionate process of unbecoming all the things you thought you had to be, so that you can finally become the person you truly are. The person who is not afraid of their own shadow, because they know it holds the keys to their own wholeness. The person whose kindness is a genuine reflection of their inner fullness, not a defense against their inner fear. That person is not someone you have to build. That person is already inside you. Your exhaustion is simply the sound of them knocking on the door, asking to be let in. Are you ready to open it?
Today, we have looked at our exhaustion not as an enemy, but as an ally, a sacred messenger from the deepest, wisest part of ourselves. We have learned that the profound fatigue so many of us feel is not a sign of weakness. It is the energetic cost of suppressing our shadow self. It is the price we pay for the lifetime performance of being nice. And it is our body's intelligent alarm system telling us that the way we are living is no longer sustainable. This understanding changes everything. It moves us from a place of fighting our bodies to a place of partnering with them, from a state of war to a state of listening. We now have 3 gentle practices to begin this new partnership. The sigh of surrender, to signal our willingness to listen. The practice of journaling to our fatigue, to decode its specific, personal messages for us. And the radical act of guilt-free rest, to declare that our worth is not in our doing, but in our being. The journey of reclaiming your energy is the journey of reclaiming your wholeness. It is the very essence of shadow work. As you learn to listen to the whispers of your exhaustion, you will begin to hear the needs of your shadow. The need for boundaries, the need for creative expression, the need for rest. And as you begin to honor these needs in small, consistent ways, you begin to plug the energy leak. The door to your power, once locked, begins to creak open. The energy you once used to suppress your true self will become available to you, to build a life that is authentic, fulfilling, and genuinely joyful. You deserve to feel vibrant and alive. You deserve to wake up in the morning feeling replenished, not depleted. You deserve a kindness that flows from a full well, not a dry one. This is not a selfish pursuit. It is your birthright. But this journey of listening, of turning inward, it is not always easy. As you begin to listen to the messages of your exhaustion, you will inevitably come face to face with the very things you were using your busyness to escape from. The hurts, the disappointments, the secret pains you carry in the quietest corners of your heart. So why do we hide our pain? What is the deep shadow secret behind our culture's refusal to feel? And how can we learn to hold that pain with compassion instead of burying it under a mountain of obligations? That is the deep, essential work we will dive into in our very next conversation, Day 2 of our journey together. For this week, your invitation is simple but profound. Choose one of the 3 practices we explored today, the one that feels the most resonant or perhaps the most gently challenging for you right now. Will you practice the sigh of surrender when fatigue hits? Will you spend 10 minutes journaling to your exhaustion? Or will you schedule and honor 15 minutes of guilt-free, sacred rest? To make this intention real, I invite you to share your choice in the comments below. The sigh, the journal, or the rest. By sharing, you affirm your commitment to yourself, and you join a community of others who are also learning to listen to their own deep wisdom. Thank you for honoring the messages of your body. Your renewal has already begun.